The Devil's Contract. Prologue, the Bloody Shore and the Devil's Pact. A bitter, icy rain lashed the abandoned pier, frigid seawater curling over the muddy reefs where Lila Carter lay broken and bleeding. Not far away stood the man she had loved with every piece of her heart, and the friend she had trusted more than anything in the world. Her body was covered in fresh wounds, warm blood seeping into the cold tide, draining the last traces of her life little by little. Ethan Hale, her fiancé, came from old money, his demeanor always gentle, polished, and warm, the man she had once believed would be her entire future salvation. Right now, however, there was no mercy in his eyes, only icy indifference and impatience. Tucked safely against his chest was Mia Bennett, her childhood best friend, the girl who had always called her sister and relied on her for everything. "Don't hate us, Lila," Mia purred, her soft voice twisted with venomous malice, her fingers brushing slowly over Ethan's palm. "Your family's status, your wealth, everything you own, it was always meant to be mine. Ethan has always loved me. You were nothing but a foolish obstacle standing in our way." Ethan stared down at her dying form, his tone as cold as a brutal winter frost. "I only got engaged to you to swallow your mother's inheritance and your family's enterprise. You were far too naive. Far too troublesome. You got in the way." But what shattered Lila's heart completely was the arrival of her own parents. Black luxury sedan headlights sliced through the pouring rain. The car halted sharply at the pier's edge. The doors swung open, and her parents stepped out beneath elegant black umbrellas, their clothes immaculate, their expressions hollow and detached. They looked at their dying daughter crumpled in blood and seawater, as if she were nothing more than a stranger's discarded trash. Rain blurred Lila's vision, yet it did nothing to obscure the blatant favoritism etched across their faces. Her mother bypassed Lila's bleeding body entirely, rushing straight to Mia. She pulled the unscathed girl into her arms, stroking her hair tenderly with a warmth Lila had never once received in her entire life. "It's all right, sweet girl," her mother cooed softly. "We're here. No one will hurt you." Mia buried her face in their mother's shoulder, feigning terror and fragility, yet her eyes peeked out toward the reef, gleaming with triumph and cruel satisfaction. Her father stood tall and rigid, staring down at Lila with unmasked disgust and harsh judgment. His voice cut through the rain, sharp and merciless. "You still refuse to repent, Lila. You grew jealous of Mia's goodness, threw tantrums, and acted out unreasonably. You brought this humiliation entirely upon yourself. Even dying like this is your own fault." Her own parents. The people who were supposed to love and protect her. They had chosen the outsider over their own blood. They blamed the victim and comforted the villain. Lila's chest burned with a pain far worse than her physical injuries. For 20 years, she had devoted herself entirely to the people around her. She had honored her parents, catered to their every expectation, and craved their elusive affection. She had opened her home, her wealth, and her heart to Mia, treating the orphaned girl like family. She had loved Ethan blindly, trusted him completely, and handed him access to her family's legacy on a silver platter. And in return, she received nothing but betrayal, exploitation, cruelty, and abandonment. Mia lifted her head from Ethan's chest, her smile sweet and murderous beneath the rain. "Now that you're gone, Lila, everything is ours. Your money, your house, your reputation, your man. It all belongs to me now." Ethan kissed her forehead coldly, agreeing without hesitation. "Everything you wanted is yours." The waves crashed harder, flooding Lila's mouth and nose. Choking agony consumed her. Her vision darkened at the edges. Her body grew numb, but the hatred blazing in her soul burned hotter than ever. She refused to die like this. Broken. Alone. Despised. Forgotten. while her murderers lived happily ever after with her stolen life. With the last spark of her fading consciousness, she screamed internally, begging for a second chance at any cost. I would trade my soul, my future, my everything. Let me live again. Let me return. I will make every single one of them pay 100 times over for what they've done to me. The rain froze mid-fall. The wind died completely. The entire pier sank into suffocating silence. Thick, endless black mist rose from the dark ocean, swallowing light, sound and reality itself. A terrifying, oppressive aura descended, heavy enough to crush any ordinary human soul. From the void stepped a man. Tall, lean, and devastatingly beautiful, he wore a tailored black suit that seemed woven from shadow. His features were sharp, flawless, inhumanly gorgeous, yet devoid of human warmth. His eyes glowed a deep, bloody crimson, eyes that had seen centuries, that ruled life and death, darkness and ruin. Lucas Voss. The devil who walked among mortals. His low, husky voice echoed through the empty pier, ancient and hypnotic. You crave rebirth. You crave revenge. Lila's foggy gaze locked onto him. She did not hesitate. Anything. I'll pay any price. A dangerous, mocking smile tugged at his cold lips. A fair contract. I will return you to the past. I will grant you eyes to see all lies, power to overturn your fate, and strength to destroy your enemies. In exchange, your soul belongs to me. Your life is mine. Every breath you take from this moment onward is mine. Bloody, glowing runes burned into her soul, searing an indelible mark between her and the immortal devil. Deal, Lila whispered. Darkness swallowed her whole. Chapter 1, Rebirth, 18 years old. Brilliant, blinding crystal light exploded across her vision. Lila jolted awake, gasping sharply, her chest heaving. The phantom pain of drowning still lingered in her throat, and the devil's contract mark in her soul burned faintly, a constant reminder that her brutal death had not been a dream. She was back. She stared around at the luxurious Carter family ballroom, at the glittering chandeliers, the polished marble floors, the wealthy guests dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits. Soft music hummed through the air. Laughter and quiet social chatter filled the hall. This was her 18th birthday coming-of-age banquet. The exact day her entire tragedy had begun. On this night in her previous life, Mia had played the gentle, grateful orphan, winning everyone's affection, while secretly spreading cruel rumors that painted Lila as spoiled, ungrateful, and arrogant. On this night, Ethan had delivered his sweet, fake confession, tricking her into engagement and slowly draining her family's assets. On this night, her own parents had publicly humiliated and punished her for hurting poor little Mia, breaking her heart for the very first time in front of high society. Young, naive, and desperate for love, she had apologized. She had forgiven them. She had let them walk all over her. Not anymore. Lila's eyes were cold, sharp, and empty of all former softness. The innocent girl who loved too hard and trusted too blindly had died screaming in the cold ocean. The woman who returned was forged from hatred, pain, and a devil's bargain. Lila. You're awake. Mia rushed over immediately, her voice sweet and concerned, her perfect doll-like face full of fake worry. She reached out to grab Lila's arm, acting the devoted best friend. You fainted just now. Were you standing too long? I was so worried about you. All around them, guests smiled warmly, cooing at how kind and loyal Mia was to her best friend. Lila's gaze pierced straight through Mia's innocent mask. Thanks to the devil's contract, she could see every hidden emotion lurking beneath the girl's fake smile: jealousy, greed, resentment, and vicious scheming. She yanked her arm away violently. Don't touch me. The atmosphere froze instantly. Mia's smile shattered. Her eyes welled up with tears in an instant, perfectly rehearsed, her lower lip trembling. Lila, did I do something wrong? Why are you being so cold to me? I only wanted to help. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Everyone began to side with the poor, sweet orphan girl against the supposedly spoiled Lila. Ethan stepped forward at once, his gentle, handsome face soft and comforting as he placed a hand on Mia's shoulder. Don't cry, Mia. Lila is just tired and irritable. She doesn't mean it. He looked toward Lila with that warm, deceptive smile that had once stolen her entire heart. Now Lila only saw a cold, calculating gold digger staring back. I'm not tired, Lila said flatly, her tone icy. I simply dislike you both. The crowd gasped. Mia's tears spilled over, her body shaking weakly. If I'm such a burden to you, Lila, I'll leave. I'll move out tonight. I won't trouble your family anymore. Please don't hate me this much. Her mother stormed over, furious and protective of Mia. Lila Carter. Apologize to her right now. How dare you be so cruel on your own birthday? Her father followed, his expression thunderous. You're embarrassing our entire family. Apologize at once. In her past life, she had broken down and apologized, crumbling under their pressure. This life, she stood tall and unyielding. I have nothing to apologize for. Her mother raised her hand to slap her. Before the strike could land, the grand ballroom doors slammed open. Rolling black fog flooded the luxurious hall, snuffing out the warm light, drowning every sound and every whisper. A terrifying, godlike pressure descended over every guest, leaving them breathless and terrified. Lucas Voss stepped inside. His crimson eyes swept the silent crowd, cold and terrifying, before locking solely on Lila. The murderous frost in his gaze melted into a possessive, protective warmth only for her. His deep voice boomed across the entire hall, absolute and unchallengeable. Who dares lay a hand on my person? Chapter 2, The Devil's Favor, Public Humiliation. Dead silence reigned. Every wealthy guest, every powerful socialite present knew exactly who Lucas Voss was. He was the untouchable king of the city's underworld, the silent ruler of global business empires, a man whose single glance could destroy families and bankrupt corporations. Cold, ruthless, solitary, and immortal in reputation, he never attended parties, never socialized, never favored anyone. Yet tonight, he had walked into Lila Carter's birthday ballroom and publicly claimed her as his. Mia's face drained completely of color. Her heart twisted with unbearable, burning jealousy. She had obsessed over Lucas for years, dreamed of catching his attention, of becoming his woman. And here he was, defending Lila, the girl she hated most in this world. Ethan's perfect mask cracked open. Panic and resentment flashed in his eyes. His carefully laid plan to seize Lila's fortune and status had just collapsed entirely. Lila's parents froze mid-rage, their raised hands stiff in the air, overcome with terror and stunned disbelief. Lucas walked slowly toward Lila, his towering figure shielding her completely from the crowd's judgmental eyes. He stood before her like an impenetrable fortress of shadow and power. No one can hurt you anymore, he murmured softly, only for her ears. Lila's heart trembled. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, she felt truly safe. Ethan forced a calm smile, stepping forward awkwardly to salvage his dignity. Mr. Voss, this is merely a trivial dispute between youngsters. There's no need for your dignified self to intervene. Mia immediately nodded, pretending meek and remorseful. It's all my fault, sir. I shouldn't have upset Lila. Please don't be angry on her behalf. Lila stepped out from behind Lucas's protection, her expression calm and deadly. Trivial dispute, she repeated coldly. Mia, did you or did you not slip sedative powder into my champagne glass minutes before I fainted, hoping I would collapse and embarrass myself publicly tonight? Mia paled instantly. That's a lie. You're framing me. The ballroom's full-view surveillance cameras recorded every single movement, Lila stated plainly. Shall I pull up the footage and project it on the main screen for everyone to see? Mia's body began shaking uncontrollably. Her innocent facade crumbled completely. Lila shifted her gaze to Ethan, her tone sharp and unforgiving. And you, Ethan? You planned to confess to me tonight not out of love, but to legally gain access to my mother's trust fund and my family's corporate shares. For half a year, you've been secretly sleeping with Mia, plotting together to rob me of everything I own. The crowd erupted in shock and disgust. Ethan's jaw tightened viciously. You have no proof. I have your chat logs, your call recordings, your hotel check-in records, your private transactions, Lila replied without hesitation. Do you want me to display those too? Ethan and Mia stood frozen, completely defeated, their reputations shattered beyond repair in front of the entire upper class. Lila's parents stared at them in utter shame and regret, finally realizing how horribly wrong they had been all these years. But Lila felt no sympathy for them. They had chosen the strangers over their own daughter when she died. They did not deserve forgiveness now that she was powerful. From today onward, Lila announced clearly for everyone to hear, I cut off all excessive family obligations to the Carters. You lost the right to control me, blame me, or favor others over me forever. Her parents' faces turned gray with despair. Ethan stared at Lila with a sudden, frantic obsession burning in his eyes. The cold, powerful, unyielding version of Lila standing before him now was infinitely more captivating than the docile, naive girl he had once planned to exploit. Lila, he said hoarsely, abandoning all pride, I was wrong. I was greedy and blind. I regret everything. Give me a chance to make it right. I'll leave Mia. I'll love you properly. Mia burst into broken tears. Ethan. How could you? Lila let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Your repentance is worthless to me. The old me died in the ocean because of you too. The new me wants nothing from you except your destruction. Lucas wrapped his fingers firmly around Lila's hand, his crimson eyes darkening with possessive satisfaction. Leave this boring farce with me. Lila nodded, turning her back forever on the chaotic, humiliated crowd. They walked side by side out of the grand ballroom, black mist clearing a perfect path for them, every wealthy guest shrinking back in fear and reverence. Outside in the night garden, the cool night wind brushed across Lila's face, calming the last traces of her anger. Lucas stopped beneath the shadow of a huge wisteria tree, his gaze fixed deeply on her face. Are you afraid? He asked softly. Lila shook her head, smiling faintly, the first genuine smile she had worn since rebirth. I'm not afraid anymore. I have you. Lucas's expression softened completely. He lifted his cold fingertips to trace her cheek gently, his touch reverent and tender. My contract comes with a heavy price, my love, he whispered honestly. Every time I use my dark power to protect you, every time I bind my soul closer to yours, I suffer burning immortal pain. My life force is now tied completely to yours. If you hurt, I hurt doubly. If you die, I cease to exist forever. Lila's eyes widened in shock and heartache. Why would you pay such a terrible cost for me? Lucas stared at her for a long, endless moment, his crimson eyes filled with ancient sorrow and endless longing. Because I've waited for you for 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, you were the only light in my endless dark hell. You saved me, and you died because of me. For a millennium, I wandered the boundary between life and death, searching for your reincarnation. This contract is not only your chance at revenge. It is my only chance at redemption. Lila's chest flooded with overwhelming emotion. Their fate was not a coincidence. It was 1,000 years of waiting, 1,000 years of lonely obsession, 1,000 years of karmic entanglement. She leaned into his chest, hugging his waist tightly. I'm sorry, I made you wait so long. Lucas held her close, surrounding her completely with his dark aura, shielding her from every evil in the world. You're worth every second of it. The night breeze whispered through the garden leaves. The stars shone dimly above them. For a brief moment, revenge, hatred, and betrayal faded away, leaving only two souls bound across 1,000 years of time. But the peace did not last long. A rustle sounded from the garden path behind them. Mia stumbled forward, her eyes red and hysterical, her perfect makeup ruined by tears. Lila. You think you've won? You think just because you have a powerful man protecting you, everything is over, she screamed shrilly. I know things you don't. Your mother's death wasn't an accident. There's a bigger secret behind everything. Lila's eyes sharpened instantly. Her mother's death. She had always believed her mother died in a random car accident years ago. If there was a secret, if it was murder. Lucas's arms tightened protectively around her, his crimson eyes turning cold and dangerous again. Watch your words, he warned lowly. Mia laughed brokenly, crazed with desperation. You don't know the truth. You don't know who your real enemies are. Ethan's family, your parents, even the people you trust, they're all covered in blood. I was only a small pawn in their game. Ethan caught up moments later, grabbing Mia's arm roughly, his face dark with warning. Shut up, Mia. But it was already too late. The seed of doubt had been planted firmly in Lila's heart. Her revenge was far from over. The people who killed her in her past life were only the surface of a deeper, darker conspiracy that had destroyed her family long before she ever knew betrayal. Lila stared coldly at the two trembling traitors, her mind calculating every new possibility. Tell me everything, she ordered flatly. Or I'll make sure you regret being born. Mia trembled, glancing fearfully at Ethan before finally breaking down completely. The Hale family wanted your mother's business empire from the very beginning. Your parents cooperated with them to get more power and money. Your mother discovered their illegal transactions, so they arranged her car crash. I only joined later to take your place. Every word struck Lila like a thunderbolt. Her own parents had sacrificed her mother for wealth and status. Ethan's family had masterminded the entire tragedy. All the betrayal she had suffered in her past life was merely the final chapter of a decade-long conspiracy. Lila's blood ran cold. She had thought she was avenging only her own death. Now she knew she had to avenge her mother's murder as well. Lucas felt her entire body stiffen with suppressed rage. He pressed a gentle kiss to the top of her head, his voice deep and reassuring. I will help you uncover every hidden truth. We will burn down every last one of their corrupt empires together. Lila lifted her head, her eyes blazing with icy resolve. No more hiding. No more patience. Starting tomorrow, I'm destroying them all. That night, the entire upper-class circle whispered fearfully about Lila Carter's terrifying transformation, and the mysterious invincible man who stood behind her. The weak, gullible little heiress was dead. In her place stood a vengeful reborn soul, bound to an ancient devil, ready to burn the entire cruel world to ashes for justice. The real war had only just begun. The next morning, the entire city's financial circle woke up to shocking news. Overnight, 3 core subsidiary companies belonging to the Hale Group had collapsed completely. Their capital chains shattered, their stock prices plummeted to zero, their senior executives investigated and arrested for financial fraud. No one knew which powerful force had struck so brutally and suddenly. Only Lila and Lucas knew. While Ethan and his family were still celebrating their years of successful schemes, their empire had already begun crumbling from the roots up. Ethan received the bankruptcy emergency call early morning, his face instantly pale with horror. "What do you mean the companies are gone?" he roared in shock. The assistant's panicked voice came through the phone. "All core assets have been frozen overnight. All cooperative enterprises have terminated contracts. We're facing hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation lawsuits. The group is finished, young Master Hale." Ethan's hands shook violently. He instantly thought of Lucas Voss. Only a man of Lucas's terrifying power could destroy 3 large companies in one night without leaving any trace. And it was all for Lila. Regret crashed over Ethan like a tidal wave. He had never truly cherished Lila when she loved him blindly and devotedly. He had only seen her as a tool for profit. Now that he had lost her completely, now that he faced total ruin because of his own stupidity, he finally realized how priceless she was. He was drowning in insane regret and obsession. He had to get Lila back. No matter what price he had to pay. Meanwhile, inside the Carter family villa, Lila sat elegantly at the dining table, sipping warm morning tea calmly, as if the overnight collapse of the Hale group had nothing to do with her. Her parents sat opposite her, their expressions extremely awkward and humble, completely different from their former arrogance and harshness. After last night's public humiliation, they had finally woken up to their own stupidity and cruelty. They were terrified of offending Lila now that she had Lucas Voss backing her. Her mother spoke cautiously, trying to mend their broken relationship. "Lila, breakfast is ready. Your favorite strawberry tart is baked. Can we talk properly?" Lila lifted her cold eyes, her tone indifferent. "We have nothing to talk about." Her father's expression turned bitter and helpless. "We know we wronged you terribly these years. We were blinded by selfishness. We neglected you. We treated you unfairly. But we are still your biological parents. Can't you give us a chance to make amends?" Lila chuckled lowly, without any warmth. "When I lay dying in the rain and seawater, covered in wounds and begging for help, did you give me a chance?" Her parents fell silent, their faces burning with shame and guilt. "You chose to protect the enemy who killed me. You chose to abandon your own daughter. Now that I'm powerful, you want to reconcile. It's far too late." Lila stood up, putting down her teacup gently. "From today on, I will take back all the family rights you've withheld from me. I will take full control of the Carter family assets left by my mother. You too can keep the remaining trivial properties for your retirement. But don't ever try to interfere in my life again." Her parents did not dare resist at all. They could only nod weakly in complete submission. After taking back her family's legal rights, Lila turned and left the villa without looking back. Lucas's black luxury car was waiting quietly outside the door. He opened the car door for her personally, his eyes soft and indulgent. "Where do you want to go today, my queen?" Lila glanced at the bright morning sun, her lips curving coldly. "I want to visit the Hale Group's crisis press conference. I want to watch them fall apart with my own eyes." Lucas smiled faintly. "As you wish." At noon that day, the Hale Group's emergency crisis press conference was packed with media reporters. The entire Hale family was in complete chaos, their faces haggard and panicked. Ethan stood on the stage, barely maintaining his broken dignity, facing countless flashing cameras and sharp questions from reporters. "May I ask why 3 core subsidiaries collapsed overnight? Is it true that the Hale Group has long been involved in illegal financial operations? Is the bankruptcy related to young Master Ethan's personal emotional disputes? The questions were sharp and merciless, pushing Ethan to the edge of collapse. Just as he was struggling to answer, the conference room door opened slowly. Lila walked in first, elegant, cold, and glamorous, her aura powerful and overwhelming. Behind her followed Lucas Voss, the legendary Dark King of the city, his mere presence pressing everyone breathless. All reporters instantly fell silent, their cameras frantically capturing the scene. Ethan's eyes locked firmly on Lila's figure, his heart trembling with frantic obsession and regret. "Lila," he whispered hoarsely. Lila walked straight to the front stage, ignoring him completely, facing the entire media crowd calmly. "I'm here today to announce one thing publicly," her clear, cold voice echoed across the silent conference room. "The Hale Group's downfall is only the beginning. All people involved in the conspiracy that killed my mother and harmed me will pay the price completely." The media exploded in shock. Conspiracy. Murder. The ordinary financial crisis suddenly turned into a shocking criminal scandal. Ethan's face turned utterly desperate. "Lila, don't do this. I beg you, give me a chance." He stepped forward frantically, wanting to grab her hand. Lucas lifted a finger slightly, and a wisp of black mist slammed Ethan back heavily, pinning him in place, unable to move an inch. "Don't touch what belongs to me," Lucas warned coldly. Ethan stared at Lila with bloodshot eyes, falling completely into the torturous hell of regret and unrequited love. This was the beginning of his endless, burning crematorium. He had abandoned his most precious treasure for greed and vanity. Now he would spend the rest of his life watching her belong to another man, watching her shine brightly on the top of the world he could never reach, drowning in endless regret every single day. Mia, who had also sneaked into the conference venue, stood in the corner tremblingly, watching Lila's glory and her own despair. She had always thought she was smarter, more scheming, more suited for success than Lila. But now she finally understood. From the very beginning, she had never been Lila's match. Lila's rebirth, Lila's devil contract, Lila's powerful guardian, and Lila's ruthless determination, all of it was far beyond anything she could ever compete with. Her petty schemes and jealous tricks were nothing but ridiculous jokes in front of Lila's grand revenge. Lila glanced coldly at the two defeated sinners, then turned her gaze back to the media, her tone calm and powerful. "I will provide all evidence of the Hale family's illegal crimes and their involvement in my mother's murder case to the police and judicial institutions. Justice will be served." After finishing her announcement, she turned around and left with Lucas without any lingering nostalgia. Behind them, the entire Hale group completely collapsed in front of the public, doomed to irreversible destruction. Outside the press conference building, the sun was bright and warm. Lucas held Lila's hand tightly, his crimson eyes filled with gentle doting. "Are you satisfied with this first step of revenge?" Lila shook her head slightly, a faint cold smile on her lips. "This is only the beginning. I will clean up every last trace of the filth that hurt me and my mother." Lucas lowered his head, his forehead gently touching hers, his voice low and affectionate. "No matter how long the road is, no matter how many enemies stand in your way, I will walk every step with you. Even if you want to overturn the entire world for revenge, I will stand beside you and burn it all down for you." Lila's heart softened completely. Hatred had fueled her rebirth. But his love was giving her a new life. A mortal seeking revenge. A devil seeking redemption. Bound by a soul contract spanning 1,000 years. Their story of darkness, revenge, redemption, and desperate eternal love had only just begun. Chapter 3: Hidden Truths and Lingering Shadows. The afternoon sun filtered through the tinted windows of Lucas's black Maybach, casting soft, streaked shadows across Lila's delicate features. The car rode smoothly through the city's bustling financial district, past towering skyscrapers that once belonged to the Hale family's business empire. Now their logos hung lifeless on the glass facades, marked for forced liquidation and public auction. Lila stared out the window, her cold gaze unwavering, no trace of mercy in her heart. The sight of the crumbling Hale legacy brought her no joy, only a quiet, burning resolve to dig up every buried truth that had haunted her family for a decade. "Where are we going?" she asked softly, breaking the peaceful silence between them. Lucas laced their fingers together, his cold palm wrapping securely around hers, the faint, burning warmth of their soul contract thrumming gently between their skin. "To your mother's old study. I had my people preserve it exactly as it was the day she died. No one has touched a single item inside, not even your parents." Lila's breath caught in her throat. For years, her parents had sealed off her mother's private study, claiming it was too painful to revisit the memories of their deceased wife and mother. They had told Lila all her mother's personal documents, business records, and private journals were lost in the car crash that took her life. It had been another lie, woven into the endless web of deception that had trapped her entire childhood. "They sealed it to hide the evidence," Lila murmured, her voice sharp with suppressed anger. "They didn't grieve her. They buried her truth along with her body." Lucas squeezed her hand gently, his crimson eyes softening with endless tenderness. "I've spent years investigating the events surrounding your mother's death. The Hale family did not act alone. Your parents were not merely greedy collaborators, they were terrified pawns, blackmailed by a hidden upper-circle syndicate that controls most of the city's underground illegal transactions." Lila turned to face him, her eyes wide with shock. "A syndicate? A secret alliance of old money families," Lucas explained, his tone dropping into a low, dangerous murmur. "They manipulate the city's politics, finance, and even public opinion to maintain their absolute power. Your mother discovered their illegal money laundering operations, their underground arms deals, and their bribery of senior officials. She planned to expose them entirely, which is why she had to die." Pieces of the broken puzzle finally clicked together in Lila's mind. The sudden collapse of her mother's thriving enterprise years ago, the unexplained financial gaps in the Carter family accounts, her parents' sudden shift from loving guardians to cold, distant strangers. Every strange occurrence traced back to this hidden criminal syndicate. "Mia was right," Lila whispered bitterly. "Ethan's family was only the smallest part of the conspiracy. I've been chasing minor enemies while the real masterminds lurk in the shadows. But they are no match for us," Lucas promised, his voice laced with unshakable certainty. "I have spent centuries dismantling dark organizations like this. They fear mortal greed, but they fear immortal darkness far more. I will help you uproot every last one of them." The car pulled to a stop outside the gated Carter family private villa, the residence Lila had grown up in, but never truly belonged to. Lucas stepped out first, circling the car to open her door, his every movement graceful and protective, treating her like the precious queen she was to him. The villa was quiet and desolate, the once lively halls empty without Mia's fake laughter and her parents' forced warmth. Lila walked up the marble staircase, her steps steady and unhesitant, heading straight for the locked third-floor study that had been forbidden to her for 10 long years. Lucas snapped his fingers lightly, and the rusted, sealed lock clicked open instantly, the heavy wooden door swinging outward with a low creak. A thin layer of dust covered every surface inside, proof that no one had entered the room since her mother's passing. The study was elegant and serene, lined with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with legal, financial, and literary volumes. A vintage mahogany desk sat in the center of the room, adorned with her mother's old fountain pen, a half-empty bottle of ink, and a framed family photo of young Lila and her mother, smiling brightly without a trace of sorrow or betrayal. Tears pricked at Lila's eyes, the first vulnerable emotion she had allowed herself to feel since her rebirth. In her past life, she had thought her mother's death was a tragic accident, a cruel twist of fate. Now she knew it was a cold-blooded murder, planned and executed by people who feared her mother's courage and integrity. She walked slowly to the desk, her fingers brushing lightly over the dusty wooden surface. Beneath the layers of dust, she found a hidden drawer, locked with a small combination lock, one she recognized instantly, the birthday of her childhood self. She input the numbers, and the drawer clicked open. Inside lay a stack of sealed documents, a leather-bound personal journal, and a tiny encrypted USB drive tucked into a velvet pouch. Lila's hands trembled slightly as she lifted the journal, flipping open the worn pages filled with her mother's neat, delicate handwriting. Page after page revealed the terrifying truth she had spent a lifetime unaware of. Her mother had known about the syndicate's illegal activities for years. She had spent countless nights gathering evidence, planning to report the entire criminal network to the highest judicial authorities. She had hidden the evidence to protect Lila, fearing that the syndicate would target her only daughter if the truth came to light too soon. She hid everything to protect me, Lila choked out, her voice thick with emotion. She let everyone call her paranoid and eccentric, let her reputation be tarnished, just to keep me safe. Lucas stepped behind her, wrapping his arms gently around her waist, his chin resting lightly on the top of her head. Your mother was the bravest mortal I have ever known. She chose to carry the darkness alone, so that you could grow up in light. As Lila flipped further through the journal, a crumpled newspaper clipping fell out, fluttering to the desk. It was an old local news report, covering a small orphanage fire that had happened 12 years prior. All children inside were presumed dead, except for one missing little girl, Mia Bennett. Lila's eyes widened in shock, her mind racing to connect the dots. Mia's orphanage fire wasn't an accident either. She didn't become an orphan by bad luck. She was planted here. Lucas's crimson eyes darkened with icy fury. The syndicate sent her. They placed her by your side as a child spy, to monitor your mother's movements, to gain your trust, and to eventually destroy you and take over the Carter family assets once your mother was eliminated. Every smile, every vulnerable moment, every plea for your kindness was a decades-long scheme. The realization crashed over Lila like a tidal wave, colder and more brutal than any pain she had endured before. The betrayal she had thought started in her adulthood had begun when she was a small, innocent child. For 12 years, she had loved, trusted, and cared for a spy who had been waiting patiently to ruin her life. Rage burned hot and fierce in her chest, the contract mark in her soul flaring brightly in response to her intense emotion. I always wondered how Mia could hate me so deeply despite everything I did for her. It was never personal hatred. It was a mission. A mission she's been executing since childhood. But her mission ends today, Lucas said firmly, his voice laced with unyielding resolve. I have already tracked down the surviving members of the orphanage fire scheme. We will confront Mia and expose her true identity before the entire city. Just as Lila closed the journal and tucked the evidence safely into her bag, her phone buzzed sharply in her pocket. It was an unknown number, the caller ID masked and untraceable. She answered the call instantly, pressing the phone to her ear. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the line, sharp and threatening. Lila Carter. If you value the lives of your remaining family, hand over all evidence of the syndicate within 24 hours. Come alone to the old abandoned pier at midnight. No Lucas Voss. No witnesses. Or your parents die tonight. The line went dead before Lila could reply. Her jaw tightened sharply, her eyes flashing with icy anger. The syndicate had finally shown their hand. They had been watching her every move, waiting for her to uncover the truth, and now they were threatening her with the two people who had once betrayed her. They are bluffing to lure you into a trap, Lucas said immediately, sensing her tension. The pier is surrounded by their elite assassins. It's a death sentence for you to go alone. Lila lifted her head, her gaze steady and unafraid. I know it's a trap. But they have my parents. Cowards though they are still my only living blood relatives. I can't let them die. I will go with you, Lucas stated firmly, no room for argument in his tone. I will not let you face this danger alone. My life is bound to yours. Where you go, I go. Lila turned to face him, reaching up to cup his cold, perfect cheek, her touch soft and sincere. Lucas, your immortal life is tied to mine. If you use your full power to fight the Syndicate's dark spells tonight, you'll suffer unbearable pain. I can't let you hurt yourself for me again. Lucas leaned into her touch, his crimson eyes filled with endless devotion. Pain is nothing compared to losing you. I have waited 1,000 years for your reincarnation. I will not lose you to a pack of mortal criminals. The conflict between them hung thick in the air, love and fear clashing fiercely. Lila knew the Syndicate would stop at nothing to silence her. They had killed her mother, planted a spy in her life, ruined her past life, and now they intended to eliminate her completely to bury their decades of crimes. But she was no longer the weak, helpless girl who had died on that pier. She had a devil by her side, a soul bound to hers for eternity, and a heart hardened by endless betrayal and pain. Then we go together, Lila finally agreed, her voice firm and resolute. But we do not walk into their trap blindly. We prepare. We expose every last one of them tonight. Lucas smiled faintly, a rare, genuine smile that softened his inhumanly sharp